Hey everybody, back again. Oh dear, it is Saturday, and we're going to recap all the good stuff from the week, the news that you may have missed, and the news that is super interesting as well, that covers all things investing. Happy Saturday. We'll talk about crypto first. Market cap is still just under that 2 trillion. Volume 56 billion, which isn't too bad. Bitcoin price 51.5. A lot of altcoins are running too. We'll talk about that in a minute. What else? Ethereum is still under that 3,000. And Crypto Fear and Greed is 72, down from 76 a couple of days ago. So not bad. And thank you to the mods in the chat for being here. And everybody else, got people from all over the world. The Australians are up. The Brazilians are here. Yay. Hope everybody is doing great. Now let's jump in. And of course, this is not financial advice. And the story, well, let's just talk about crypto first, and then we get into the other stuff. If we look at the last week in Bitcoin terms, because that's really all that matters in the world, we don't care about fiat, you can see here everything pretty much beat Bitcoin last week, which is kind of unusual. It was a strong week for altcoins with a few exceptions, like Tron, Tau, Immutable X, Hedera, etc., etc. Some of the other ones I can't quite read, but when we look at it in dollar terms, we had a lot of green. Bitcoin was actually up. And again, the point in time I took the snapshot was about an hour ago, and Bitcoin was just shy of 52K. Now I think it's down a little bit. Let's check the price real fast. 51.5. Yep, I fell $300. But that's what happens. But ETH was above 3,000 an hour ago. And you can see everything's bouncing around. Solana recovered $104, and everything else kind of green. But let's find out what else is going on in the world. First of all, this is a cool little chart that I saw on the internet. And a shout out to Sanjay as well, who I don't know if he got this to me, but I thought it was funny. But basically, a lot of people still call Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme. It's a Ponzi, don't touch it. But this graph really explains which one is a Ponzi scheme. So you got the US national debt, $34.3 trillion. Well done, USA. And by the way, it's not just the USA that has a lot of debt, but many places all over the world. And the fiat is unlimited supply. It's not backed by anything, and it's very centrally controlled. I think it has one node to be able to just hit that print button all day long. Whereas Bitcoin has a fixed supply. It's backed by energy and the most powerful computer system in the world, and nobody can control it. There is no CEO, there's no support desk, nothing. And the supply is extremely scarce. So the question is, for your friends and family, which one is the Ponzi? And the second question, which one is in your pocket? Because one is a melting ice cube, and the other one is as hard as can be and will continue to get harder as time goes on. Let's look at the altcoins for the last week. You can see here a bit of reversal. The top part of this chart from the compendium is the last 7 days. The bottom part is the last 30 days. It's good to have that perspective because some things can really bounce. The winner of the week, hey Linda, is Uniswap. Number 2, Graph. Number 3 is Render. And the losers for the week, actually the losers this week were the winners last week. Sui, Say, and Tia. Tia, I don't think was winner last week, but the two S's were, because I remember saying, wow, the X's always lose, and the S's were winning this week, so it was just really weird alphabetic patterns. And then over the last month, the winner again is Uniswap, Beam, and Render within the month, and the losers are Ton, Maker, and XMR. XMR has had a pretty bad time over time, so that's kind of the top 50. Let's look at the actual deltas across the different chains in great detail. So this is interesting because we will talk about Binance in a minute. Binance wins the price action for the week. Stablecoin volume, Binance also wins because Tron went down. Not went down, but people were Circle, etc., saying we're not going to touch it, and that hit the Tron stablecoin business. Phantom wins on commits. Cardano wins on developers, and daily active addresses, Aptos wins, and daily transactions, Binance wins. So Binance wins 3 out of all of those 6 categories. Big week for Binance. Let's find out what's going on too. Let's look at other categories within an area of focus that I'm very much focused on, that is Sol Alts. They've been on fire. This is just over the last few hours. Many are up double digits. It's kind of crazy. Some of them are meme coins. This is just stat ranked by performers, but Whales is doing very well. Orca rebounding nicely, etc. So interesting to see this whole category and where this category will go over the next year. Because so far, just in the first 5 or 6 weeks of this year, they did some of them did incredibly well. Now, there's talk, well, not talk, but sometimes chains go down. And in defense of Avalanche, busy chains go down. And Avalanche has had a lot of traffic, especially with the gaming, which is kind of their new kind of focus right now, and a lot of adoption. And they were down for 5 hours. By the way, coincidentally, Solana was down for 5 hours about a month ago too. Something about that 5-hour window. But the truth is, busy chains drop. And I know the trolls come out from the other chains from yesteryear that have maybe 1 transaction per second or something. And they say, look at our chain, it doesn't go down. Well, things go down because they get overloaded. And that's just part of what it's all about. And you want to always, always, always push the limit when you're developing something. So again, it happens to everybody. Matic has gone down. Solana's gone down. Avalanche has gone down. There's probably a couple others I'm forgetting or not remembering. But it just happens in this space, okay? It's early days yet. Now, Uniswap had a great week. And this is interesting because it is the 16th largest token, and it's up 66. At one stage, it's up 75% this week, and it's now about $12. The market cap is massive, very massive, over $6-7 billion. And it was up on the news that the foundation wants to start creating a new governance system that will reward users for using Uniswap and staking with them and everything else. Guess why they are doing that? Because there's now pressure from the New World Order that is doing the same thing, giving users rewards, having very good incentives to not only stake, but also hold and get part of the rewards. So the old school tokens like Uniswap are beginning to catch up. Uniswap is still the heavyweight gorilla in the space, but there were a few occasions where Jupiter had overtaken it in terms of daily volume. And we'll see if this is potentially a response to that. Now, because of this move too, we saw some of the other tokens move up in value and accelerate a little bit. Those being things like Orca, like we just saw. Radium, Jupiter had a little bit of a bounce, but that's kind of what happens when they see changes happen. And we see the relative market caps, one thing I focus a lot on, shoot up a lot. It makes you think, oh, these other ones are cheaper. That's why they run up in unison as well. Now, this regarding Binance, they had a lot of very good metrics, but the bad news for Binance is they were fined $4.3 billion in a plea deal after admitting to money laundering and sanction violations. We knew the way the US government, Department of Justice was talking. They had the goods on Binance. They had the proof and evidence. So Binance had no choice but to admit guilt and take the hit, which is a massive fine. And CZ is going to jail. He's apparently somewhere in the US. I think he's in custody. And so, again, nefarious people in the space are being pushed out as the new world order comes in. TradFi people are getting into crypto. Let's look at some stocks as well for the week. It was a pretty green week across the board. Nvidia, again, up a huge amount. They added $277 billion in market cap in one day, which is a historic record. And we'll talk more about them in a second. Microsoft kind of flat, Apple kind of down, Google kind of flat, Meta totally flat, 0% for the week. And part of this is because you take names like Amazon is up 3% despite Bezos selling $4 billion to invest in robots. We'll talk more about that too. Tesla down as well, Apple down. So again, mixed week. Berkshire Hathaway was up too, and Walmart was up. Interesting space. We'll also touch on those guys too. Let's look at the most interesting thing. And I always say, you hear me talk about black holes and the winner takes most and all these things. I'm very, very repetitive. But you look at this here. This is a great chart. Again, from Joe Consorti. I love his Substack and his charts. But when you talk about like diversity and valuation, if you assume like the top 7 companies make up 30% of the S&P 500, that's 500 companies. And if you imagine it's equally distributed, what that basically means is each one of the Magnificent 7 is worth about 4.3% of the index. Okay? And that means the rest are worth about 0.1% of the index on average. So literally, they should just call it the S&P 7. Push all the rest away. And a lot of people are saying, oh, the stock market looks really toppy, it's going to crash. Remember, all the gains this year were driven by one company pretty much. A little bit of others, like Meta has been strong, etc. Microsoft. But Nvidia is the big 800-pound gorilla that's driving this thing to the moon. And that's what people need to understand. You don't look at a whole index as a whole. You got to excise what's in it and figure out why it's actually moving. Now, speaking of things that are moving, bots. The new Optimus bot, this new video dropped today. Tesla are dropping one a week. And what's interesting about this one is this bot can now walk in all sorts of different directions at a pretty fast pace, over 1.5 miles an hour, which is, I think, about 0.6 meters per second for the Europeans out there, which is pretty handy. But what's interesting about this, shout out to Miro, who pointed it out in the video, is there's a charger on the wall which looks like it's standing up. So maybe one day Optimus will be able to plug itself in. We know that's already possible, and they can probably easily do that. Again, Optimus has a brain which is tied to FSD in the cars. Now it can walk very well, and it's got the most dexterous hands in the bot world. But why do we care about bots? Because they're coming and they're going to take over. Now, a company called Figure. This is the company that Jeff Bezos sold a lot of stock to invest in. They just raised nearly $1 billion, and now Figure is worth billions and billions. Okay, now this company Figure, yes, they might have some smart stuff and some bots, but do they have anything like the brain or the manufacturing prowess that Tesla does? And again, the stock market gives Tesla zero valuation for the stuff they're doing with bots and the demos they're doing every single week. This is why it's an opportunity, and people get really sad and upset that the price isn't going anywhere. This is a blessing to be able to buy this company under $200 for as long as we can possibly stack. It's actually a positive thing because we know, just like Nvidia, cream floats to the top. It might take some patience, but it's going to be there. So just wait. Guaranteed. Nobody can touch Tesla. Look what Elon Musk has done to every other industry in the world. Media, space, telco, rockets, cars, batteries, FSD. And FSD, by the way, many people say it's 99% there. We're going to have that ChatGPT moment for Tesla soon. Fingers crossed. Again, it could be the next 3 months. It could be in the next year. But it's coming. Randy, thank you so much for coming. Speaking of Tesla too, they have just installed their 600,000th Powerwall and worldwide, showcasing a huge adoption of their energy storage system. They just launched the Powerwall 3. It officially went on sale in the US, I think, in the last week or two. And this will be a big deployment as well. And Tesla is the leading player on the planet in the battery storage market, not only for residential, but also for enterprise utilities. And they have over 32% market share, I think. And also Tesla's piloting a virtual power plant program, VPP, allowing Powerwall owners to sell their electricity back to grids. They're already doing this in places like Texas, which is kind of very advanced when it comes to the way energy works down there too. So another big piece of news too. And Sawyer Merritt said it another way as well. Tesla has installed an average of 450 Powerwalls globally per day over the last 7 months. Per day, nearly 500 a day, which is staggering. But people say it's a car company. It is not a car company. Reminder, the bots are coming, everybody. Be prepared. Crazy times. Now, back to Nvidia, recapping the crazy week we've had. Just some very interesting statistics. Shout out to Sanjay as well for this too. Nvidia is now worth more than the GDP of Russia, South Korea, Australia, Spain, Indonesia, Turkey, Netherlands, and Saudi Arabia. It is insane how much this company is worth. It is a very large country already. It's mind-blowing. Anyway, and to show the dominance as well, a lot of people say that AMD and Intel are catching up. Well, no, they're not. Not at all. Again, winner takes most. It's a rule of the universe that's been around since the beginning of time. In addition, Billionaires selling, I did hint at this before, but Jeff Bezos did sell $8.5 billion worth of Amazon, Zuckerberg, nearly $500 million of Meta, and Jamie Dimon, $150 million worth of JP Morgan. And the billionaires are selling. But it's very clear what Jeff Bezos is doing. And I bet you one of them somewhere is buying some Bitcoin. I don't know which one, but one of them probably is. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. That's not good. But anyway, we'll see where all this goes. In addition, speaking of a legend, Warren Buffett, he has a solid history. But what's been really sad for me to see is how he has completely missed the mark on disruption. These guys now have over $160 billion worth of cash they're sitting on. And he said to the Financial Times, the days of eye-popping gains are over. Dude, do you know what's happening right now? There's an AI revolution happening, and he's there. Oh, there's nothing going on. And you got stocks like Nvidia adding $300 billion in value in a day, and he says, oh, the days of eye-popping gains are over. This is just sad to see. There's got to come a time you got to hang up the gloves, dude, or jump on the revolution. You know, he's a very conservative investor, likes things like utilities and banks and insurance companies and stuff like that. They go really steady, slow as you go. But now it's like sitting on over $160 billion in cash. No, there's nothing to invest in. I was going to sit on my cash and get my 4%, and so be it. Anywho, the stock did go up this week. And final piece of news as well, Truflation, great updates. US inflation is now 1.74%. It did edge up a little bit. It did fall as though it was 1.32% this year. And the UK is knocking on the door of a new all-time low at 2.5%. By the way, I would cover more countries, but Truflation only have the data on these two for now, but I'm sure they're going to expand in the very near future. But that's very positive. A lot of the UK drop has been down to food not being as expensive as it was over the last year or so. Thank you, everybody, for the quick recap. I have my live Q&A tomorrow, handling all your toughest questions from the week. Thank you all. Thank you to everyone on Patreon. Smash the like on the way out. It's been an interesting week, and boy, are there some very interesting times ahead. Thank you, Sean, as well, for always being here. Thank you, Batman, Jimmy, TND Tesla, and who else we got? Linda, of course, and Randy. You all rock. Smash the like on the way out, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.